Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're going to be looking at Drax's new uniform, mostly from a PvP perspective, but I wanted to showcase just a little bit of what he can do in PvE, just to to leave you assured that you're not missing out on basically anything by not building him for PvE content. But I do think there is a place for him in the game, and this is a massive improvement over a character that was basically just a meme in the game. So to go from meme to team is actually quite impressive. And he actually has a really good 5th skill. He also has a very interesting mockery ability on his 3rd, but unfortunately it doesn't have any effect in PvE, so that's really where a lot of his value gets lost, because you can't translate it over to PvE, and that's why it's then not going to really do much. He basically loses a skill, right? Because part of that, the majority of that skill's effect doesn't translate, therefore it gives you 0 value. But yeah, he's chugging along here. As you guys can see, we're 1 minute into this fight. I don't think we need to go too much further. In case you're wondering, for those of you wondering, he is not rocking an obelisk with a proc. He's just rocking a regular invincibility obelisk. But yeah, his raw damage is really low here on stage 9 with 22% pierce. He has a heck of a lot of HP. I don't think you've ever seen a character with 160,000 HP in a PvE piece of content, so that's impressive. But unfortunately, you cannot win fights unless you're using Immortal Hulk because of your HP. So I'm actually not going to continue this. I just wanted to give you guys a little glimpse into what he can do. Beast Mode actually has a great video showcasing Drax with an obelisk, and his 4 cancel, 6 cancel, 5 rotation is great. But let's just talk about what makes Drax good for other content, namely specifically PvP content, timeline battle, and I think more specifically Alliance Conquest. I'm not a big Alliance Conquest player, but I will do my best to sort of espouse on why I think he's going to be quite good for Alliance Conquest. Now, his kit does have a lot of different effects. I'll highlight the things that he doesn't have: iframe ignore and a passive heal. Those are really the 2 things that he's missing that he could really use to fill out his kit, in my opinion. He does have a really nice 60% decreased damage from both villains and heroes, in addition to skill damage, bonus damage, so that is really nice. But then you factor in the fact that, like, the decreased damage, again, it's just a PvP thing. It's just to make him tankier. It's not going to increase his offenses. For the rest of his abilities, this one is really cool because you can actually see it applying to regular World Boss Ultimate, not World Boss Legend. So if I go into a fight against Proxima, you'll see him stacking the Innate Warrior passive, which I think is very, very dope and could have some limited use. And I'm actually not sure, maybe it has use as a striker. I should test that out and show you guys. But anywho, the majority of his PvP value is going to lie in his 3rd skill with the mockery effect and the 40% heal for 2 seconds, which is really nice. And then the 5th skill with the very, very long iframe, 70% chance to penetrate, which is insanely high, and then the crazy self buff. So his 5th skill sort of seems like Gilgamesh's 5th skill. It's really long, it's an iframe, it does lots of damage, lots of AoE. And then his 3rd skill is kind of like Blue Marvel's 3rd skill, because the mockery effect is a taunt, and when he taunts you, he will then apply the mockery ability, and the mockery ability basically allows him to do more damage to enemies that are mocked, sort of taunted. And that, I believe, is on his this skill here, his tier 2 passive. Increases damage dealt to targets with mockery effect by 70%. It's kind of confusing that they don't just use the word taunt, but basically it increases damage dealt to targets that are taunted by 70%. And he also has physical reflect reduction, so you can't counter him with Colossus or some other reflect pylons like Luke Cage, which is why I think he's going to be good for Conquest, because you're just going to have to plow through him with a blast type or a universal type that's going to do more damage. And I say plow through him because look at that HP stat, 100,000 HP static, and that is with just 8 HP Urus and no HP on his obelisk. I do have HP rolled on both of his 2nd and 3rd uniform slots, so that is important to note. And then of course I have HP on the Power of Angry Hulk ISO set. I do actually think that Power of Angry Hulk is not the best set for him, but for PvP it's probably like Protect the Captain or Tenacious Symbiote or Spider Sense, because you want to beef up those defenses. They're a little bit low, a little bit lacking, but it's going to be very hard to find a speed type or a combat type that's going to be able to chew through Drax in PvP. And so basically what it comes down to is, how can you build the best possible PvP team for Drax? Is he going to be the main damage dealer? Is he going to be the star of the show? Or is he going to be supporting someone else? And that's basically what you and I are still trying to figure out. I'm honestly not sure. my gut, my intuition from what I've seen briefly, it tells me that Drax is mostly going to be a lead for other characters to become more tanky and more toxic, because if you don't know, Drax's lead, if there's more combat types on the team, he increases the HP. So if it's just him, it's 45% HP for him, which is still really nice as a leadership, which is one of the highest, and it's the highest in the game. If there's 2, it's 55% HP, and then if it's 3, it's a whopping 65%. So all 3 of these characters on this team, Red She-Hulk, Colossus, and Drax, are all getting 65% increased HP. So his 100,000 now jumps to 155,000 because he's getting 65% from himself, and he's getting another 30 from Red She-Hulk. You can see how this can get really out of hand when you bring in some other really spicy combat types like Immortal Hulk, like Wolverine, etc. Again, that would be sort of shifting the focus of the show away from Drax onto other more powerful combat types. Think Gilgamesh, for example. But for now, we're going to showcase Drax. And keep in mind, the devs may have already thought about this because they marked him down as a leader only, sadly, for both boss battle and arena. So they weren't really expecting Drax to do much of the heavy lifting on his own. But anyways, we've got 155,000 HP. We've got a guard break immunity, ignore dodge, 4-second proc for those pesky... What am I trying to touch him? What part of my face? For those pesky Spider-Men. Let's go into PvP and now see what he can do, because I don't think he's going to impress you or really knock your socks off in... Bro, hella, really? I don't think he's really going to do a lot for you in PvE. Let's see what he can do in PvP. This team, a little bit toxic here, with Proxima giving Doom extra damage to heroes, but let's see if he can tank it. He absolutely cannot. That is with 296,000 HP. Almost 300,000 HP, an invincibility proc obelisk, and 60% damage reduction from supervillains, and 50% additional damage reduction from supervillains from Colossus, and 10% damage reduction from Red She-Hulk. Sheesh, bro. That was a lot of damage reduction. Okay, so that team didn't work out too well. Let's take a look at another team here. We'll just go down the list of the top PvP opponents in Vibranium and see. But yeah, I've got mixed results. I've gotten mixed results, and I've seen a lot of players get mixed results from Drax. He's getting guard broken to death by the guard break merchant sentry here. He can't get an attack off, but when he does, it's good. And you can actually see, because his 4-star passive, the innate warrior, actually some of the effects ignore debuff. They will apply even though there's debuff immunity. So you'll actually see a little blue icon. You can see it above Silver Surfer right now. He's getting his defense reduced, his attack reduced, and he's dead. And he was also getting his resistances reduced, which is kind of cool. And I think, again, this is going to have a much greater impact in a game mode like Alliance Conquest, where you can have multiple characters attacking at the same time to take advantage of Drax's debuffs. So, for example, you pair Drax with Wolverine, and Drax is lowering their attack, their defense, and their resistances, their fire resistances, right? Now Wolverine is going to do even more damage. But yeah, he's not doing too well here. Normally, I will immediately test characters in PvP with a CTP, but I wanted to give Drax a chance just because, unlike other PvP characters, he has such an insanely high HP stat. This is obviously not the best team for him for PvP. Like, this is not the most competitive PvP team, but I just wanted to highlight he's getting shredded. Like, this is not even close. With all that damage reduction, again, 60% damage reduction versus heroes, plus the 10% from She-Hulk, Red She-Hulk, plus the 50% from Colossus, and he can't even last 5 seconds. So why would you even want to bother giving him, like, I don't know, I'm going to give him a CTP for PvP, but I'm not really sure if you should bother. I honestly think this is a very optional uniform, and I think your odds are, you're better off skipping this uniform, in my opinion. But if you're gonna get it, I would say only if you're an insanely active Alliance Conquest player and very competitive, or if you really love another combat type that I've mentioned recently, like Wolverine or Hulk or Gilgamesh, and you want to see that big number. Because some people play for the big numbers, and that's totally fine. I respect that, and I appreciate that. And yeah, seeing like 600,000 HP is disgusting, and I love it. And seeing Hulk come back and clap some cheeks for one more round, one more go around the bend is awesome. Here, unfortunately, you're going to get a bit of toxicity from Spider-Man because you don't have iframe ignore. So I know I said, like, can you find a speed type that will be able to kill him? If you don't have a if you don't have a proper build on him, yeah, your Drax can actually die to Spider-Man's, which is kind of sad for a combat type with 60% damage reduction and 300,000 HP. Yeah, it's a little sad, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So he actually ends up cleaning this one up. Not the most competitive opponent, in my opinion, using Sentry, but That's okay. We're going to keep going with him here. We're going to do a couple more matches here before we get to another attack. Yes, everybody's using Hela, bro. And people were trying to tell me, oh, watch what happens against Emma Frost. People were trying to tell me in the Adam Warlock video that Hela's not meta. I don't know what y'all are smoking. You don't need Hela's artifact for her to be meta. She has support buffs, so that's what makes her meta. But yeah, I honestly think that Drax is, you know, decent for Alliance Conquest, but even for Timeline Battle. And the other thing I wanted to point out was for Timeline Battle specifically, he has very bad rotation. He's a very bad rotation. He suffers from the Icarus complex. And that's basically that he never uses his third skill. He actually just used it. We got lucky where he used it against Emma Frost because he had just finished using 5 and 4 against Sentry. But normally if you watch a fight where he's going toe-to-toe with a character, you can see here against Spider-Man, he's actually just going to rotate between 5. See, he did 5 there. I mean, 5 is effective, don't get me wrong. But his third skill is his bread and butter. It gives him an 80% heal. Like, I think the devs should look into this, because if they can change his rotation so that he starts with 3, he could be much better for PvP. His third skill gives him debuff immunity, which is amazing for PvP. It's needed. It gives him an 80% heal, and then it gives him that mockery. But unfortunately, he just cycles through 5 and 4, which is all. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like, these skills do damage and they have good effects, but they're really not, giving him all that he needs. But we actually don't. I don't have a mighty regen. Let's see what a regular regen looks like for him. I actually thought I had a mighty regen, but I do not. So we're gonna take this regen here and see now with an extra 31% HP. He's now at 173,000, and he can actually go even higher with Odin's blessings for HP. But I'm not gonna go that high because that's a little bit crazy. But we're actually gonna switch the team around here. We're gonna bring in Hulk. Hulk is actually, we're going to lose 25% HP. We don't lose the full 30 because he has a 5% team up with Colossus there. So we do actually go down a little bit to 159,000. But on the other hand, look at Hulk. My Hulk is at 208,000 HP. Yeah, this is where I think Drax's real value lies. And this team, like if you for example swap Colossus for Wolverine or Gilgamesh, now this team becomes very tanky versus something like, oh, I don't even think you're gonna be able to. Well, you know what? Hulk doesn't get punished by Hela. You can take down Molecule Man teams because you're not relying on a lot of hero buffs and debuffs. Now is he still? Wow, he still gets one-shotted with 300,000 HP, and with a CTP of regen and the shield, he still gets one-shotted by Doom. By Doom plus Hela. That's kind of sad, to be honest. Hulk, on the other hand, is hanging in there. So I think what Drax would have needed to become an actual standalone PvP threat is he probably would have needed a static heal. Wow, and it looks like Hulk's gonna die too. Hulk just can't do enough. The AI is so bad for Hulk, man. Just do the third skill more often. But yeah, I think he needed a passive heal like Wolverine and Hulk have. Wow, 500,000 HP Hulk. Yeah, guys, I don't really know what to say. I think this is the feeling that a lot of other players are getting, where they're just, I think we've reached the saturation point for combat types, and Drax is not really bringing anything new to the table, unfortunately. His leadership is interesting, don't get me wrong, but there's just so many counters nowadays to these types of effects, and it seems like there is a point where more HP is not better. And as much as I wanted to give him like a mighty authority to get that steal effect, I don't know if it's gonna have too much more of an effect. It may help him stop getting guard broken as much, but he really just needs to pop that third skill. The regen gives him the shield, which maybe will allow you to get to his rotation, get to his 6 skill faster. But generally speaking, well, he's not doing too bad here. Generally speaking, the authority is gonna help for characters that can sustain. He's gonna kill himself to reflect, bro. Come on. Yeah, he has physical reflect reduction, but not energy reflect reduction, like not all damage reflect reduction from like Emma or Silver Surfer. But yeah, 500,000 HP Hulk. If you never thought you'd see it, and then he dies too. Wow. I don't know what to say, guys. I don't know what to say. Yeah, it happens. It happens every now and then. I don't think this uniform is a pickup at all. I think, like I said, very niche very niche situation where you're going to want this uniform because, hey, either you love Drax, you love the sort of, wrestling motif that he's got going on here. I mean, the uniform itself aesthetically is beautiful, right? It's a very, very nice uniform. I just wish they made him a little bit stronger, either for PvE or for PvP, honestly. I don't think they went hard enough for Drax. And after getting, after getting Gilgamesh, after getting Wolverine, even Kingpin, we've gotten a lot of good combat types, and then the last two have just been a disappointment. Colossus and Drax back-to-back, in my opinion, have been disappointments. But again, someone else, you could also make the argument on the flip side that Drax may be a better investment than Colossus, because if you're encountering a lot of Molecule Man teams, if you're encountering a lot of that stuff, then you may just be better off giving your team more HP that can't be countered or avoided or negated, versus giving them Colossus, who won't be as strong offensively as Drax, and then, in certain situations won't be giving you anything, whereas Drax is giving you that immutable amount of HP. However, I'm not sure that it's worth it in and of itself, and you might just be better off constructing a better PvP team with like Gilgamesh and Cersei rather than Drax and Gilgamesh and Colossus or something like that. So yeah, a little bit disappointed, to be honest with you guys, but not every uniform can be a banger and a hit, and that's why we do these reviews, so that you can save your resources for better characters and characters that are going to have a bigger impact on your roster. So yeah, outside of Alliance Conquest, I honestly think that this uniform is a big skip, and even for Conquest, make sure you have Wolverine and Gilgamesh and Hulk first, because Drax is definitely lagging behind those bad boys in the combat class. So thank you so much for watching. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of Drax, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.